Hello, I'm Laurel Anne Hill, author and former underground storage tank operator. I'm a member of California Writers Club, San Francisco Peninsula branch. Today I'm going to be reading the opening of my short story, Unsettled. Wave after wave pounded the seawall of boulders, sending shivers of pleasure along Kayleen's nerves. Such power the ocean held. She peered down from the ruins of the old Sutro bathhouse, where she stood in human form atop a concrete wall. Her hands rested upon her swollen belly. Below, the beckoning salt water roiled in the waning daylight. Somewhere out in the offshore fog lay Northern California's Farallon Islands and the mystic intertidal zone where her own lungs had first sucked air. Kayleen wanted her pup, her first offspring, born in that same hollowed location. Yet the risk of her baby dying would be too high. Weak magic couldn't be trusted. The chill penetrated her wet hiking boots. The concrete perch was little wider than the length of her feet. It was a challenge to maintain balance in this wind. Pregnancy didn't help. Another breaker crashed, odors of sea and seaweed strong in her nose. If Kayleen assumed the shape of a seal, could the mostly human infant in her womb do likewise? Would the little one's inherited magic have sufficient strength? Here she was again, having the same conversation with herself about a birthing location and getting cold feet in the process. All because of one big, ugly unknown even 400-year-old Auntie Gwendolyn couldn't predict. Well, it was time to swallow the herring or spit it out, so to speak. Deliver a human-looking baby in a hospital the way her husband Colin wanted, or as a fur seal, swim 28 miles to birth her child on a wind-swept isle invisible to people. Darn Kayleen's deluded Selkie magic. Regardless, her pup was 3 days overdue. "Forsake your human consort," a seal barked from the ocean in the gathering darkness. "Auntie Gwendolyn, ye belong amidst your own kind, and the magic kens it." "Hush!" Kayleen tensed her entire body, restraining an instinct to revert to a seal and go bite her annoying relative. "Leaving Colin won't change the truth, and you know it." Unchangeable truth number one. Most new Selkie mums experienced a temporary loss of the ability to shift from seal to human shape. Unchangeable truth number two. Seal milk was for seals. If Kayleen delivered a human infant instead of a seal pup upon the hidden Farallon Isle, how would she nurse the child, let alone keep it from dying of hypothermia? Then there was truth number three. Birth on the mystic isle extended their lifespan, or at least not cutting it short. A tempting lure, pay the piper now or pay him later. A potential no-win situation, one of Colin's expressions. Goddess, she even thought in her husband's language these days, although some of her native Selkie still crept through. "Your magic and the wee bairns," Auntie barked, cloaked in fog. "They'll tell the tale." "The tale," Kayleen replied, "gets decided by more than magic." "Trust the magic," Auntie said. "Did trusting the magic help you?" Kayleen pushed out a heavy sigh. She shouldn't have spewed that particular dose of verbal venom. Auntie, half human herself, had experienced Kayleen's plight years ago. Auntie, too, had taken a human lover, but her unborn baby had not changed from human to seal during the swim to the Farallon Isle. The child had perished within days of birth. "If I didn't want The magic of the sea to perfuse my womb, Kayleen said, softening her voice. Would I have returned to this place almost every twilight for all these months? Then vow, Auntie barked, ye'll return on the morrow. Kayleen could see Auntie's outline now, her trim fur-covered body, dark eyes like pools of liquid night that demanded compliance. Auntie was up to something. I'll be back if I'm able. Better to be unable. Kayleen turned away from the ocean. Sea spray dripped from her windbreaker and had soaked her cotton sweatpants. Time to drive back to her place and change into dry clothes before Colin came home. She disobeyed him again, coming here tonight. Good thing he really took off early from work. For heaven's sakes, Kayleen, Colin's last tirade still rang between her ears. You know I don't want you down there alone, except in broad daylight. Your family's powers grow too dangerous after dark. You're carrying our baby, the only pup we might ever get. He never voiced the word Selkie, even after their 7 years of marriage, although most of the maternal side of Kayleen's family had flippers. Wouldn't do for a professor of marine biology to sound like he admitted the existence of shape-shifting Celtic pinnipeds, now would it? Bet Colin had a secret fear the baby's first verbal communication would be a fur seal bark. Another blast of crosswind hit her face. It would have lifted her glasses clean off if she hadn't worn her knit hat. She flicked on her flashlight and headed toward the stairs leading back to her parked Honda Civic. A distant foghorn warbled from the Golden Gate Bridge. From behind her came the crash of a breaker ramming the seawall. Ocean spray pelted her back. What the underworld? The seawall was 50 feet behind Kayleen now. That wave had wanted her. The whole goddamn sea wanted her. Her fault, really, for swimming away from the Mystic Isle to marry Colin. Big no-no for a Selkie gal, even one of the many half-human sort to trade her flippers for arms and legs on a long-term basis. Still, she'd only meant to have an affair with him, no different than any of her other affairs with seals, Selkies, or men. And after 100 years, she'd long ago given up her dream of bearing any sort of offspring. Then lust had turned into love, and a child was conceived. Now the dream of motherhood shimmered within her reach. Her wee one moved inside her womb. Warm and cozy in there, no doubt. Warm was good for a human baby. Foggy and freezing were not. Kayleen unlocked her Honda. She must control her Selkie homing instincts. Kayleen closed the front door of her home and stepped into the entryway. Colin's slate blue eyes glared at her. His lips twitched and face reddened. If smoke could billow out of ears, he would have set off the fire alarm. Dear goddess, why did he have to have come home early tonight? You've been over there again, haven't you? My lord, his strong hands grasped her narrow wrists. You promised you wouldn't go north of the Cliff House restaurant after dusk. What do I have to do to keep the sea from stealing you and our baby? Lock you in Steinhardt Aquarium? And if you want to learn the rest of the story and what happens, The Fault Zone Over the Edge is on Amazon.com, published in 2013. Thank you.